how's it going? I'm Steve from Steve's True History and Knowledge channel. What I try to do is I try to bring you the truth, no nonsense, no fake stuff, what's real from real sources and books and real history. That's what I do. So we're on a sensitive subject today, and that's the definitions of Goiim, and Gentiles. And it's coming from, well, the definitions are coming from the dictionary and Webster's Dictionary, Strong's Concordance, in the Etymology Dictionary online. But the word goy is coming from the famous Protocols of Zion. A lot of people say that's a forgery. I don't believe it's a forgery because of just read it. You honestly read it and you honestly think that it's a forgery. I don't think so. Because of the history of Egypt, if you compare it to the parallels of Egypt, then it makes total sense. And if you compare it to what the Jews talk about today, then it makes total sense. So I'm gonna just try to keep it to the definition without getting too much into interpretation of these meanings, because it can get you into, I don't want to get this video removed, so I'm gonna just try to keep it to this, and you can look into it more deeper and try to get a better understanding from what I have here. And if you have any questions or anything, feel free to email me or ask me and I'll answer you. Okay, so the protocols refer heavily to the Goy. And the Goy, what the definition of Goy is: a people, a nation, or Gentile, a foreign nation, a troop of animals, flight of locusts, or to strike out by the people, specifically the descendants of Abraham and Sarah and Ishmael, Jacob, Ephraim, Moses, or Esau, as the nations. So I guess that means that Goy are these people. Those specifically from Israel. So the Goy are those specifically from Israel. And they're called the heathens, who are sinful and rebel. And we can think of the rebellion against the sun god Ra. I talk a lot about the sun god Ra in my research, so please feel free to watch my other videos. Or non-Hebrews from Galilee, who are heathens and idolatrous like Jeremiah and Ezekiel. All beasts. It was also used to refer to King Tidal, who was either a Babylonian, Guti, or a Hittite king. I believe he's probably a Hittite king because of the history of Egypt. Because Hittites are moving from the north and Egypt is moving from the south, and they're meeting near Palestine and Syria. The word's origin is from the people massing together, the public. The protocols refers to the Goy as the mob. In the Old Testament, it's used to describe non-Israelites, but can also mean Israel itself. So here we have both, meaning non-Israelites and Israelites. Its origin comes from the same word as Gav, G-A-V, which means the back, to ignore or reject the people or the herds. Also, Gev, they're just changing the valve in the middle. which means middle back, to be beaten, lashed on the back, humiliated. So it's interesting how just one change of a valve has a slightly different meaning, but similar. So the back and then the middle back, ignore, beaten, reject, lashed on the back, or humiliated. So those are kind of similar. All they're doing is just changing the valve in the middle. Vowel. And then Geva, which mean, okay, now they're just adding AH at the end, like a suffix kind of to the end of it. And what that does means to expire or perish. Um, the Goi are prideful, have arrogance, and are self-exalted. The definition in 1835 of Goi entered into the French at that year as Gauge, which equals wench. And then I'd like to expand on these things, but I'm going to refrain myself. Gentile, we got equals not a Jew in the year 1400. Earlier than this was one who is not a Christian. So Gentile meant not a Christian prior to 1400. Which is interesting, right? That's interesting. That's goes against what we think of Gentile. We think of Gentile as anybody who's not a Jew. And the late 1400s, it meant one who is a pagan. So it seems like it kind of developed as, okay, originally it was kind of like, okay, it's somebody who's not Hebrew, and then it's somebody who's not a Hebrew or a Christian, and so somebody who's specifically not of those two religions. Or these origins come from the Latin gentilis, the same, which means that means from the same family. A Gentile belongs to a Roman genes, race, or clan. Therefore, a Gentile was a Roman. Okay, so maybe that was a word that the Israelites and the Jews used during, the 1st century AD when they were fighting with the Romans. So they called all the Roman people Gentiles. That makes sense. Then the definition contradicts itself and says it was a foreigner or a barbarian, not a Roman. Okay, so maybe then Jews and Israelites moved into Rome and started to become a part of Rome. And then now they're no longer calling the Romans citizens Gentiles, because now they're a part of Rome. So now they're calling the other foreigners and barbarians, probably from the north, right? The Gauls and the Germans, they're calling them Gentiles now. They're not yet Christianized, or probably most likely Christianized, and Judaism is more inclusive. I'm assuming you can become one, but it's more harder to do, right? They're gonna make you a Christian first. Okay? And that's interesting, because maybe they're gonna make you a Christian first which means they still accept you, but they're not letting you into the inner circle, the higher, more elite inner circle of Judaism, which is much harder to follow and much harder to become, right? You're more strict rules, which most people can't do. Okay, but they'll let you be a Christian, and so they accept you. It's kind of how I interpret that. Okay, so then this was because after Rome was Christianized, Gentile instead of meaning a Roman by the Jews or the royalty, it began to mean pagans, heathens, not Christians. Gentile means those bound by the law of nations. Ra is very much centered around the law of natural reason followed by all. So the law of nations is the law of natural reason followed by all. And in the 13th century, it meant from a noble family, someone with noble characteristics and manners like the Christians. So the Christians became very well very much centered around and very much accepted and normal and of high standing. Therefore, we can see and that might be because of their characteristics that they practiced. Therefore, we can see that Goy is anyone who is against the international government of Zion and those who are below them. So Goy is, what I'm saying there is Goy is any, it seems, well, that's what I'm saying there. That's what I see the definition of Goy as being. But more likely is so it's anybody who's not a Jew or a Christian. Which is interesting because in the protocols, they're so against the Christians. But, really the foundation of both, and Christianity is older, whether you believe it or not. Well, it might not be older, but it's as old. But they joined together, and when they joined together as a union, and then later on they separated again, and it seems like it's been separate ever since, but they're kind of using both sides for the end of the means, and eventually they will decide to unionize it again together, hopefully soon, right? Because we shouldn't be fighting amongst each other's Western civilization. They should unionize. They should union all of Western civilization, and then work on the rest of the world, right? Why? Because the two political parties are against each other, and it causes a lot of problems and chaos for the people, and I think they have the ability to fix that, and they should just fix that and then focus on the rest of the world. All right, that's it for this one. Take care.